The three profiles posted to the Readings folder for this project are of figures that are in many ways very different from each other, yet the profiles themselves work in similar ways to one another. In the article Elon Musk, the architect of tomorrow, Neil Strauss depicts in the founder of Tesla, SpaceX, and a slew of other companies, a man who has the potential to reshape the very facts of daily life for everyone across the entire planet, but who serves as a constant reminder of the basic needs we all share as humans and people. In the article Mark Zuckerberg Opens Up by Jose Antonio Vargas, Vargas gives us an ironically titled piece of writing in which the elusive creator of Facebook and object of great speculation, Mark Zuckerberg, shares few more details of himself and his work, which, in the end, only prove to make him more inscrutable. Finally, Trump Solo by Mark Singer reads as though it had been written with the help of a crystal ball from 1997, making observations about the man who had become president that are at times eerily accurate and at other times darkly comical. All three profiles begin with important accomplishments that have brought their subjects to popular awareness. All three of them go on to shed light on the person that accomplished those things. It would have been hard, if not impossible, to predict much of what one finds in the profile of Elon Musk. Strauss's profile opens with the image of Musk that we all know best and the one that we are all most comfortable with, the anti-boss genius. Strauss has a good eye for details, and we see evidence of this in things like Musk's clothing, simply described as a gray t-shirt, the small odds and ends on his desk that remind him of his goals, and the poster hanging near his desk that co-opts and twists the usual inspirational cliches having to do with the intersection of one's hopes and shooting stars. We are presented with a list of Musk's ambitions that fits with what most people already know of them, or think they know of him, consisting of goals that range from helping to transition the average household away from fossil fuels to, at the other extreme, safeguarding all of humanity from the dangers of malicious artificial intelligence. But then, we are told that Musk has done exactly none of these things. This is where the real work of the profile begins, in which all of the highfalutin ambitions of a superhuman genius are juxtaposed with details of a real, painful, personal life and history. In short, this is where a complete picture finally develops. Strauss paints a picture of Musk at his desk with his children gathered around him, feeling personally wounded by all of the faceless investors that are betting that Tesla's stock will fall. Later, Musk must step away before Strauss can begin the interview in earnest by asking Musk's latest triumph about the Model 3, his least expensive, most affordable electric car. When Musk returns, he could not be less interested in such a discussion. His girlfriend, who he was very much in love with, has just dumped him, and he needs to process the resulting emotions before he could talk about anything else, even a personal triumph. It is here that Musk the man begins to become visible, when the depth and substance of his accomplishments really begin to become palpable alongside the material about Musk's lack of relationship with his parents, his verbally abusive father, and his history of being bullied. The resulting appreciation for Musk's basic humanity and the idea that we are all like him and vice versa in some fundamental and very important way becomes the most important effect the profile has on its reader, and it is a mark of the profile's high quality. Where Strauss's victory in his profile of Elon Musk is, showing that contrary to what we might expect, Musk is intensely human and entirely relatable, Jose Antonio Vargas charts a very different course for himself in his discussion of his subject in Mark Zuckerberg Opens Up. Vargas's title is ironic, or might be humorous in a very wry way. The whole point of Vargas's profile is to show that while Zuckerberg's creation, Facebook, would seem to be the prime mover, shifting the internet and everyone on it to be less private and to have more shared experiences, Zuckerberg himself resists public openness and works hard to preserve his own privacy. Vargas's method for showing this contradiction begins with a close examination of Zuckerberg's own Facebook profile circa 2010 when this article was written. Vargas has as his purpose the examination of almost three different narratives of Facebook's creation and the actions of its creator. The public story, the story of these events and characters in the film The Social Network, which was about to be released into theaters at the time of the writing of this article, and then what little Vargas was able to get out of Zuckerberg himself during interviews for this piece. Zuckerberg's Facebook presence is much as anyone else's, just about as close to anything we find out from him, just the same way that we might look at someone's Facebook profile that we've never met before. We know what's there and not much more. In this case, this is about as close as the profile gets to being at all similar to Musk's by making Zuckerberg seem at all relatable. At the time of the article's writing, Zuckerberg had posted to Facebook that, among other things, he had 3 sisters. He knew where he'd gone to high school and college and posted that. He knew what his musical tastes were and posted some of those. There were pictures of a cookout where he had been the last few days before in a Facebook feature called Places. All of the usual stuff that someone themselves might post. Except for the only charming detail of Zuckerberg in Vargas's piece, that Zuckerberg is at ease in public only to the extent that he can acknowledge his social awkwardness, this is where Zuckerberg's relatability ends. Zuckerberg is shown by Vargas to be completely disinterested in engaging with the version of himself movie viewers come to love, hate, and love again in the social network. We see that Zuckerberg isn't a good listener and acts robotic even to the people that know him well. Fragments of instant messages between Zuckerberg and an acquaintance show him to be coldly unsentimental about screwing people he knows over in business dealings and willing to share what was at one point private information that people gave him because they trusted him. Zuckerberg is as arrogant as he is sure of himself and his intellect. His presentation of things he knows as ones that everyone else should understand just as well as he does makes him too aloof to be an enjoyable conversation partner. By the end of the article, we the readers are glad that Zuckerberg hasn't actually opened up here. We probably wouldn't want to hear him any more candid than he already is. Mark Singer, in his profile of Donald Trump called Trump Solo, finds a man for whom the concept of candor means almost nothing, a man whose persona is larger than life, a man whose existence is gleefully without restraint or discretion, one whose habit of, and I quote, reducing himself to a persona exempted him from introspection. Trump Solo functions as an interesting point somewhere in the middle of the positions staked out by the other 2 profiles, because Trump is neither humanized for the sake of exposition, nor is he shown to be pretty much what everyone would expect. Singer's profile of Trump finds its surprise in Trump's ability to turn his point of view inside out, creating for himself an entire world that operates based on his rules and his picture of how things should be. Singer's writing about the Donald Trump of the late 1990s rings with the sort of perverse glee that you can find in H.L. Mencken's coverage of the Scope's monkey trial of 1925. Both products of writers who can't quite believe what they are seeing going on around them is actually happening, who are joyously scrambling to document it all for some proof of it, and so that they can share the weird exhilaration they feel with others who eventually read their writing. Trump Solo is a favorite of mine for the sort of glee I can hear in Singer's writing. It is as though, with every new detail of Trump world, Singer is standing at my side, elbowing me, saying just under his breath, hey, guess what he does next? But I'm still not prepared for it when I see it. Asked about his failing marriage, Trump instead boasts about a parade he had been a part of 2 years prior. Confronted with a publication that says that 500,000 people turned out for the parade, Trump asserts that it was 1.4 million because, trust him, he heard it. Trump's marriage to Marla Maples, the one divorcing him at the writing of the article, happened in front of 1,000 seedy gamblers from around seedy Atlantic City, and to commemorate the occasion, Trump had his casino, the Taj Mahal, issue Donald and Marla gambling chips worth $5 apiece, no more, no less. Trump, working with a Russian artist, tried to erect a statue of Christopher Columbus that was so ugly that, after the deal fell through in the U.S., several other countries refused to put it up in their land. Finally, in a description of the services at the Mar-a-Lago resort, Trump is asked about the resident physician Dr. Ginger Lee Southall. He replies that he isn't sure where she did her training. Quote, I'll tell you the truth. Once I saw Dr. Ginger's photograph, I didn't really need to look at her resume or anyone else's. Are you asking, did we hire her because she trained at Mount Sinai for 15 years? The answer is no, and I'll tell you why. Because by the time she spent 15 years at Mount Sinai, we don't want to look at her. End quote. The takeaways from these three profiles are simple, and they begin with the fact that the profile is a place where a writer can take a prominent figure and humanize, or in the case of Mark Zuckerberg, at least flesh out somewhat, both the person and the work they do. When profiles work well, we are left with a better appreciation for the effort and the personality that went into the deeds that sometimes we already knew about, and other times are told to us anew as a part of painting that more detailed, more nuanced, more in-depth picture of the person we probably didn't know very well before. When we see the subject of the profile as someone who could be sitting next to us, and their deeds as outgrowths of the lives they lead and the people they've become, that is when the author has truly done their job well.